Avoiding the wounded bull. Jenny was all at sixes and sevens. John, her husband, was working away from home for a few days, so when the bus didn't turn up, she had to get the car out to take the twins into college. That meant she hadn't tidied up, and here it was, her best friend Lottie knocking at the door. "Oh, sorry, it all looks a tip," said Jen, and Lottie, being a mate over many, many years, said, "Don't you worry, you make the coffee, I'll ask the questions." She always loved coming to Jenny's house with its view over the river mouth and out over the sea. "So, have you heard back from the Environment Agency after their consultation then?" "Yes," said Jenny, "it's a disaster. They said they're going to walk away from managing the defences. They're not going to do any more maintenance for the seawall or for the sluice because of the cost implications. It's terrible, we're going to lose our glorious home." Oh. John is already drafting his letter to the MP, and then when the public meeting happens next week, it'll be like a wounded bull banging around, making noises. Oh, it'll be such an embarrassment. "Hang on," said Lottie, "you say they were walking away from maintaining it, but surely they're not pulling anything down. There's still some life in it, isn't it? There'll be residual life." And Jenny had to admit that yes, it wasn't going to be instant. There would be some time to think of options that might be better. Lottie then also asked how many properties were affected, and Jen had to admit that she didn't really know. She thought all the houses at the river's mouth, but didn't know what infrastructure was involved. And Lottie pointed out that for people that had their forever homes, they might be willing to find some money to contribute into the pot for the defences. The Environment Agency weren't going to turn away their money, were they? Lottie then talked about the designated land down beside the sea. She said, "That's all for nature conservation, isn't it? Perhaps you could do something to help the nature, and that might actually protect your sea defences or the sluice a little bit more." And Jen had to agree that that might be an option as well and well worth exploring. Lottie then said, "Beavers." Jen burst into laughter at that. She said, "Beavers are not going to hold back the North Sea." No, said Lottie. "What I'm saying is they're being used upstream as a nature-based solution. Perhaps you can have a nature-based solution down at the river's mouth. Do you remember we went walking on those Essex estuaries and they had those bundles of hazels, the faggots of hazels, and the stakes there, and it was holding the salt marsh together and giving extra protection and lessening the impacts of the waves on the sea defences. Perhaps that could happen here as well." Jen then started to think differently. She always enjoyed the way Lottie looked at things in a different way, and she could tell from what was going on that in fact it wasn't a disaster option. They could think of a way of avoiding the wounded bull scenario and look instead at different ways to bring different money in, or slow processes that will minimise the impacts of the sea, or something totally different. They just had to go into things with a positive mind and a view to discuss the future.